finding that a lot of times my patients might be really stiff in their thoracic spine and their low back, and that can actually lead to neck pain. If you don't get motion from one place, then you might get it from another. That might cause you, if you're stiff in these lower areas, us to get a lot more motion in the neck, and that can lead to dysfunction or stress or tightness. So this next segment, this next yoga sequence is to help release all those different areas. So I want you to start off laying on your back, and let's have one hand on your belly. And begin to really breathe into your belly. Let the belly expand as the lower hand rises up to the sky. Really stretching out the diaphragm, stretching out the fascia of the low back. You can remove your hand, and as you exhale, really start to press the small of the back into the ground. Starting to get a slight movement in the lower back. Inhaling into the belly, letting the belly rise. Maybe a slight arch in the low back, and exhale. Pressing the small back into the ground. From here, I want you to go ahead and grab something. I'm going to use a yoga blanket, but if you don't have that, use perhaps a towel or any kind of blanket. Place it between your thighs. And I want you to really squeeze that blanket together. This helps release and kind of clear the pubic symphysis, which can get tight. I want you to squeeze for 6 seconds and then relax. This last time, you're going to bend your knees a little bit more so your knees are over your heels. You're going to squeeze the block. Relax 50% so there's just firmness between your thighs. And I want you to check back into your breathing. Breathing into the belly and exhaling, letting the belly fall. The small of the back presses into the ground. One more breath in. And this time on your exhale, as you press the small of the back in, begin to press into your heels, into your feet as you tuck the tailbone under, one segment at a time coming up. Really thinking about each individual segment coming off the ground. Until weight gets between the shoulders. When weight gets between your shoulders, start to press the shoulder blades into the ground as you reach them towards your heels, lifting your chest a little bit more. Exhaling, curling this pelvis under, and then coming back down. Again, one segment at a time. Your tailbone is last to hit the ground. And go through that movement a few more times. First, the tailbone tucks under, peeling the back off the ground, one segment at a time, coming off the ground. Weight becomes between the shoulders as you press the shoulders into the ground, lifting the chest up a little bit more. On your exhale, make sure you have that tuck of the tailbone as your fingers reach towards your heels. And continue moving again on your own, in your own breath. By utilizing the ground, you're putting increased pressure, input, proprioception into each joint of the spine, waking the muscles up around the spine, helping for muscles around them to engage more properly. If we get stiff in the spine, muscles that attach to those areas may not be firing very well. Go ahead, take your blanket, place it to your side. From this position, tune back into your breath, inhaling, slightly arching, exhaling, pressing the small of the back into the ground, tucking the tailbone under. Take your hands, place them behind your head, interlaced. One more breath into your belly. And this time on your exhale, as you press the small of the back into the ground, let your elbows come together as you lift your head off the ground. Chin tuck first, one segment at a time, rounding up. And then inhale as you slowly bring your head back down to the ground, elbows open up wide, breathing into your belly, finding that arch. Again, exhaling, pressing the small of the back into the ground, lifting the elbows up, tucking the chin in. One segment at a time comes up as you round, finding a stretch in your thoracic spine, into your neck. Fascia of the along the back, the posterior chain releasing. Two more times on your own. From here, hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe go side to side. I find that this does a similar thing, but to the pelvis, to the low back, the muscles of your paraspinals, muscle called the QL that tends to get tight. Maybe even doing circles with your knees, massaging that sacrum, the lumbar spine. And then last but not least, with our increased proprioception using the ground, grab between your thighs and start to rock. Massaging the back all the way between the shoulder blades. Also have fun with it. Come back up on our hands. All right. From this position, go ahead, place your hands in front of you and come into a tabletop-like position. Now in this position, I want you to have the shoulders over your arms, over your palms, your hips directly over your knees, and anytime you're in a weight-bearing position, I want you to find a rotation of the arms. Let the bicep rotate forward, finding this rotation. This helps bring stability into the shoulders, so if the arms collapse in, all of a sudden the shoulders come up, upper traps kick in, that's a lot of pressure into the neck. So find that rotation of the arms. And from this position, I want you to press into your hands, let the shoulder blades spread apart. And then come back to neutral. Not to hanging, to neutral. Make sure the arms are engaged, pressing into your hands, shoulder blades spread apart. Noticing that when you come really high up, maybe the arms start to collapse in and the shoulders come up. I don't want you to go into that position. So this is actually an exercise called a serratus punch or serratus press, and where you engaging muscles underneath the shoulder blade that helps stabilize the shoulder blade, holding them to your spine. Continuing with this plus position. Checking in with your neck. Is your neck just relaxed down? Try and have a slight chin tuck where the chin comes towards your neck. Length is long in the back of the shoulders. This might be getting tired for a few of us, myself included, and that's good. That means these muscles are working. Now, go ahead and take your left hand, reach underneath your right, elbow bend to bring that shoulder down to the ground. Press into your right hand to stack your shoulders up on one another for a deeper stretch into your mid-back. And take a second to breathe into that restriction. And on your exhale, you press into your hand, bring your arm out to the side as a counter pose. And we're doing that again. Reaching underneath, bending the right elbow. Second to breathe. Coming up, doing it one more time. Bringing that hand down, take your right hand, reach it underneath, bringing that right shoulder to the ground, pressing into your left hand to stack your shoulders on one another. Pause, Inhale into the restrictions. Press into your hand, reaching up to the sky and coming down. And last one. From here, let's stretch out that mid back by doing another segmental movement. Tuck that tailbone under first. The next spinal vertebra moves and rounds. Still finding that engagement in the shoulder. Don't forget about that rotation. Biceps rotating forward until pressure comes between your shoulder blades, pressing into your hands, head tucks under. And then going into the arching part of cat-cow, reaching first with the tailbone, letting the belly drop. And as we're going into extension, I want you to draw the shoulders back, down the back, to pull the chest through. Gaze is up, but not all the way up. Find some length in the back of the neck where the chin starts to reach towards the neck. One more time, rounding tailbone, then the next segment, then the next one. And inhaling, tailbone reaches to the sky, shoulders draw down the back, chest pulls through. Now, if this is a lot of pressure on your knees, you could always take your blanket, place it underneath for some cushion. Let's try a side cat-cow here. We worked on rotation, just worked on flexion extension. What about side bending in the mid-back? So start to hug your right hip to the right shoulder, opening up and breathing into your side body. Exhaling back to neutral. Still engaged in the arms, reaching the left shoulder to the left hip. Feeling a stretch in the low back. That's a muscle called the QL. This muscle can get pretty tight with us sitting, taking over if the core is not firing. From here, go ahead and inhale, reaching the right leg up. Exhale, bringing the knee towards your chest so you can bring your foot through, placing it between the hands, rising up into a kneeling lunge position. Now, oftentimes in this kneeling lunge position, our pelvis, I find, is kind of opened out to the side. So make sure the pelvis is square to the front of your mat by drawing that right hip back. Sometimes in this position we'll go and we'll get a lot of extension in the back, so find a slight tucking of the tailbone. I'm going to use this exercise more to get some rotation and engagement in that QL muscle that attaches to the top of the hip crest, the bottom rib, and the spines in between. It tends to get really tight on us. Take one hand out to the outside, the front leg, palm is facing over. Take your other hand to your chest. And from here, all we're doing is rotating towards your right leg. Keeping engaged in that back leg by pressing your shin into the ground. Doing a few pulses this way. Bring your hands back to your hips. Bring that right leg down, left leg up. Same thing, right arm outside, palm facing away from you. Take your other hand to your chest. A few pulses to the left. Working the QL muscle, getting rotation in that mid back that tends to get tight on a lot of us. Great. Bring yourself back to neutral. Bring the hands down. Hands come back down to the ground. Find your side cat-cow, hugging your left hip towards your left shoulder. From here, sit your hips back like you're going into child's pose. Reaching the arms to the left. Feeling a deeper stretch in that side body, the QL muscle. Leads to a lot of dysfunction in the hips. Putting us into more of an extension and arch in our low back. Rise back up. Find your side cat-cow to the other side. Push your hips back, reaching to the side. Breathing into that restriction. Come back to your tabletop position. Inhale your right leg out to the side. Exhale, knee to chest. Bring it through, finding, again, that kind of kneeling lunge position. Curl your back toe under. Lift that knee to step your foot together into a forward fold position. Now from this forward fold position, I want you to inhale first. Take your hands onto your shins, finding a half lift. Shoulders draw back to help pull the chest through. The back of the neck reaches to the front of the room. Weight is in the front of your hips too. As best you can, keep your hip over your ankles. This is really just to find length in the spine so you can then go back into your forward fold. Important to bring your belly onto your thighs. Letting the head relax towards the ground. Hand comes behind your calves or whatever version of forward fold you may like. But in this position, wherever you're at, weight is in the front of your feet. Your shoulders draw down the back. I like to think about pressing my hands into my calves as well as dragging them up. They're not moving. This is just the force to help draw the shoulders back, tipping me forward. A slight hug is found between your thighs. Pressing into your heels for a deeper hamstring stretch, but really right here where I want us to focus on is letting the neck go. And as the shoulders draw away from the neck, let gravity pull the neck further towards the ground. This is a good way to open up the spine. Breathe into the belly. Release the hands, press into your heels, straighten the legs, rolling one segment up at a time. The neck coming up last. Take your hands, interlace them behind your back. Reach your interlaced fingers towards the ground as you open your chest up to the sky. But notice in this back bend how we might be getting maybe more extension in here. You want to be supported, so find that tuck of the tailbone, lower ribs draw down. As you inhale, chest to the sky, make sure the neck doesn't fall back. Find a slight tuck of the chin. And then exhale, release your hands. Coming forward, give yourself a big hug. Neck comes down. Release your hands to the ground and begin to shift your weight into your right leg. As you inhale, find the tuck of the tailbone, really plant through that right leg, letting your left leg come up. Grab that leg with your right hand. And if this is a lot of balance for you, you could always have a chair next to the wall, holding on. And inhale, arms open up wide, looking to the back corner of the room. Shoulders draw down the back, and we're breathing. And if you're using a chair, maybe every once in a while, let go of it with your toe. But wherever you're at, really plant through that right hip. Exhale, come back to center, bring the leg down. Shift your weight into your left leg, letting that right leg come up, grabbing it with your left arm and opening up to the side. Again, planting through that stance leg, finding a tuck of the tailbone. Gaze is to the back corner of the room. Getting some rotation again in the thoracic spine to help relieve the neck. Exhaling, coming back to center, letting the leg come down. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, fingers reach out to the side, hinging at your hips, bending the knees when you need to bring your belly to your thighs. Coming into a forward fold, but before we go into forward fold, we half lift, straightening the legs, hands to your thighs, maybe even they're above the knees. Drawing the shoulders back of the neck reaches forward, and then bringing your belly to your thighs again. This time, finding a hug of your inner thighs, grabbing opposite elbows. Weight is in the front of your legs, shoulders drop back, head relaxes towards the ground. Shake your head no. Breathe into your belly. Now when we're in this position, again, you want to draw the shoulders away from the ears. Otherwise, they're all the way up here, and you're not getting that right release. Shake your head yes. Release the hands to the ground. Step one leg back, and then the other. Bring your knee to the ground. Hug your elbows in towards your chest, lowering your chest all the way down to the ground. Chin comes to the ground. Removing that blanket if it's in your way. Going in towards a baby cobra pose. So in this pose, your fingertips are going to be on the ground underneath the shoulders, foreheads to the ground. You're going to hug your thighs together, plant into your back of the feet, plant into your pubic bone, find that engagement of the core. And from here, you're going to draw the shoulders back, hug the elbows in, down towards your back, and inhale the chest, the head off the ground, reaching with the back of your neck to the front of the room. With every inhale, you lift a little higher, squeezing the glutes to help, tucking the tailbone under, hugging the elbows through. At any moment, you should be able to lift those hands off those ground. Again, think about your shoulder blades reaching away from your neck as your neck's reaching away from the shoulder blade, and come back down. Take your hands all the way to the ground. Palms down, working towards a half locust pose here. Same engagement, hug the thighs together, press the pubic bone into the ground. Think about the lower ribs pulling in. Inhale, shoulders draw back. Inhale, exhale, core is engaged. Inhale, the chest, the head comes off the ground as you reach the back of your neck forward. You can hold here, or you can lift those hands up and reach them towards your feet. Bring your right hand down. Slowly, either stay here or slowly bring your arm out to the side. And as it comes out to the side, really think about rotating your arm up. Not necessarily the thumb up. Think about the rotation coming from your bicep as it rotates up. The more it comes from the bicep, the less the upper traps are going to be engaging. And then come back down. You can have your head rested on the ground, or you can draw the shoulders back. Inhale, chest, head lifts off. Exhale, core's engaged. Inhale again, the right hand lifts up and reaches behind you. The thumb comes up as you come out to the side, rotating the bicep up towards the sky. And exhaling, coming back down. Trying again, pressing into your hips, inhaling, shoulders draw back, lifting the chest off the ground, back of the head reaches to the front of the room. Left arm comes up, reaches out to the side, bicep rotates up to the sky. Then coming down. Once again, on the other side, shoulders draw down the back, press the pubic bone into the ground. Inhale, right arm lifts, bringing it out to the side, bicep reaches to the sky. Coming back down. Press your hands into the ground. Counter stretch, push your hips back. Hips towards your heels. Grab your heels. Tuck your toes under. Begin to press into your heels into your hands as you lift your hips up, letting the head relax towards the ground, rounding a little bit more in the mid-back. Breathing into your restrictions. Release your hands, hips come back down, child's pose. And in this child's pose, make sure the knees are close together. That's going to give you more rounding in your mid-back. Inhale up to your hands and knees. Let your hips fall to the side, bringing your legs in front of you. Now for this last part, we're going to do some stretching of the neck. So when you're sitting down, I like to sit my hips up a little higher than my knees. That's a little bit more comfortable for me, but you can also sit on the ground. From this position, reach your right arm to the side, draw the shoulder back, find a slight chin tuck of your head, and side bend one segment at a time away from that shoulder. Now often I'll see a lot of people will go into side bends and they'll do something funky with their neck. You want to make sure your head is facing forward, you find that chin tuck. Breathing deeply. A lot of these muscles are attached to the ribs, so just by breathing you might feel an increased sensation in your stretch. Maybe doing some shoulder circles on that side. Letting the arm settle, reaching the chin, even from this position. Now reach the chin up to the sky, stretching a muscle called the SCM right in front of your neck. Take your left hand, place it over your collarbone, and maybe start to look a little bit more to the top right part of the room. Release your hands. Chin tucked back in, roll back up. Find your chin tuck again, side bend your head to the right, finding a stretch in that upper trap muscle, muscles that work very hard to hold our arms up, especially at our computer desk. Find your chin tuck, and then tune into your breath. Begin to reach the back of your ear up to the sky. Feeling a stretch in your SCM muscle. These muscles get very tight holding us up. We're looking at our computer screen. Take your right hand, place it above your collarbone, and look, gaze is now to the corner of the room. Bring your chin back in, release your hands, coming back up. From here, now we're going to stretch a muscle in the back of your head. Turn your head to the right, chin tuck, chin towards your neck, down towards your armpit. If you feel a stretch here, you can stay here, or you can take your hands, place it at the very bottom of your skull, and try to lift your skull up, allowing for that rounding in the spine, but we're not yanking on our head, just a gentle stretch. Release your hands. Come back up, turn your head to the other direction, rolling one segment at a time towards your armpit, left arm at your skull. Letting it go. Taking your blanket away, coming to the ground. Now for here, if you have a foam roller, you can utilize that, or you can still use your blanket. Having the foam roller at your thoracic spine, right between the shoulder blades. I want you to lift your hips up, rolling up and down, rolling all the way down till you get your head at the bottom of your foam roller. Or you can use a towel or your blanket, find a bolster, back of your head, is on the bolster, letting your head rest. So in this position, you should feel like the chin is falling in towards your neck and you're in a rounded position in your neck. You don't want to feel like you're arching. If you're using the foam roller, you can go side to side. Letting the toes relax. Letting the knees relax. Tension falling from your right hip and your left hip. Your belly softens. Go ahead, remove the towel, the block, the foam roller, whatever you got, bringing the head to the ground. Or if that felt really comfortable, you can keep it there. Let your right shoulder and your left shoulder relax as it no longer has to hold your head up. Let the ground support you as the right fingertips and the left fingertips relax. The neck softens. The eyes sink closer to the ground. Feel yourself still and at peace. You can stay here as long as you may need to.